Hello and welcome to the April 2019 update from Pennyhill Junction. So lots to talk about in this month's update, from the completion of the third and final scenic loop on the layout. I've also made a start on the platforms for Pennyhill Junction Station. As well as the platform bases, I've also commenced some of the work on track detailing. And in addition to that, I've been starting to lay down the plans for the Heritage Line and Heritage Station. I've also taken a first look at track weathering, so I'll show you some of the tests that I've been doing to try and get the right type of grime and colour to represent the Great Western Main Line. Look at some of the recent purchases. Also some feedback on previous videos, in particular some of the suggestions with regards to the corner scenic section that I'm looking to potentially work on in the coming weeks and months. And also, of course, we'll conclude with a very short running session where in this month's update I'm going to showcase the very first loco that I purchased for Pennyhill Junction just over 2 years ago, and that's my Hornby Class 66, which of course is the talk of the hobby at the moment. So sit back and I hope you enjoy the video. So we start here at the west end of the layout, and as you can see, the inner loop is now complete. It's the third and final loop on the scenic section of the layout. This third loop, as you can just see, the class 153 come through, will be used primarily for suburban services with locos similar to the 153, so various DMUs primarily using that loop. The third loop then of course comes through to the station. Carries on through, which is platform 1, before sweeping round to the east end of the layout and back into the fiddle yard. So now I come back to the station area, and as you can see, I now have my MDF platform bases in place. So they're all in position, all being tested for clearance, any imperfections sanded down, so a good length which will fit a 7+2 HST. So the platform lengths pretty much bang on 3 foot in full length. Okay, so I'm here now at the east end of the station, and you'll see there's a cutout section here. This section has been cut out as at some point, as you can see, just coming off the outer main line, there'll be a siding here which will be primarily a disused siding, so very little use. Very much overgrown in terms of weeds, grass, bushes, etc. The track will have a very old and weathered look about it. I'll be using the Pico bullhead track as opposed to obviously the modern concrete sleepers that I've got here. The buffer stop will probably be around this location here, and then next to the buffer stop there'll be a small security gate which will allow some access for network rail workers. and just behind the gate this will be a car parking area for various Network Rail vehicles. So primarily when this siding is in use, it will just be for Network Rail maintenance vehicles and perhaps the occasional freight loco running light engine and just taking residents there for a short stop. So platform access to this siding will not come from this platform here. I said there's going to be quite a gap between the track itself and the edge of this platform. So there'll be another bay platform right at the back there, running along the back seam, which is how entry is gained onto any locos that are stored within that particular siding. I'd say it's going to be a representation of the disused siding at Newton Abbot. I think it's known as Platform 9 at Newton Abbot. So what I'll do is I'll probably pop up a couple of pictures on the screen just to give you an insight into what I'm trying to represent. And so what I've also started working on this month is some of the trackside detailing. You'll see in between these two lines here, I've started to lay the catch pits, and also on the outside of the track here on platform 1. The catch pits that I'm using are these scale model scenery.co.uk catch pits, product number LX106-00. So they come basically as raw laser cut pieces of kit, and of course I've had to paint up the bases in a sort of stone grey colour, and then applied the light blue paint onto the grille on the top. What I've also started to look at, so these aren't fixed down permanently yet and they still need to be weathered a little bit with perhaps a dark wash, is the line side cable trunking. And the cable trunking that I'm using is from 10 Commandments. And this pack here is the L77 cable trunking jumbo pack. And that's 4 feet of cable trunking, which comes with various sections, some long straight sections, plus some smaller sections which have obviously the missing lids, etc. Plus you have additional lid pieces that you can use to have them obviously just slightly ajar from the trunking itself, or just laid down to one side as if it's just been left there following some work. Now at some point, but not just yet, obviously I don't want to be knocking various scenic items down when I've still got a lot of work to do here in terms of the platforms and ballasting, etc. But I've got some of these. I've had these for quite a while. These were purchased well over a year ago as part of Pennyhill Junction version 1. But I say I'll still make use of those here on the new layout. And these are the Backman branch line side cabinets. Okay, so I'm back here again at the east end of the layout, and I'm going to talk you through my plans now for the Heritage Line and Heritage Station, which is the next sort of main project. I mean, I'll continue to do bits and pieces over the coming months, obviously on the platforms, but that's going to be a sort of side project, and that's going to take a fair amount of time to get that all together and close to completion. But prior to that, or as that work is ongoing, the next and final piece of track laying on the new layout will be as I said, the Heritage Line and Heritage Station. So just coming out of this urban, I guess you could call it a branch line. So just running off this point here, if you follow this pencil line, this will be the Heritage Line. The Heritage Line at some point in the future, before it reaches the back scene here, will enter into a tunnel, and a lot of this will be sort of built up landscape, and then it will exit the tunnel around here, and then the line will follow in to the Heritage Station. So this will be the main Heritage Station platform. The main Heritage Station will be here. This section obviously would be for shunting, so for steam engines or diesel locos to run into the head shunt, come back out, and reverse back into the rolling stock before heading back out onto the Heritage Line once again. And this third siding here, so we'll just go into a twin train shed. Obviously we've got a point here which appears to be just running off the edge of the board currently, but what I will do is I'm going to put a corner section, additional corner piece of baseboard, which will allow me then to run the second siding off, and then as I have a twin train shed there, or a engine maintenance shed for the Heritage Line. And so I'm very much looking forward to this project. I think more than anything else, even though the layout is primarily modern era, and it's certainly going to remain that way, I am looking forward to the variety of stock I'm going to be able to purchase for this particular section of the layout. Not just steam engines. You'll know from one of my previous videos that I'm looking to represent Buckfastleigh Station on the South Devon Railway. So I'll be looking at some Great Western Railway panniers. They've also got a Great Western Hall class down there at Buckfastleigh, which I'll look to add to the fleet for this station, as well as they've got some old class 33s, class 37, and I believe they've also got class 50002 superb under restoration at Buckfastleigh also. So really looking forward to an opportunity to really test my modelling skills in this area to create a really genuine looking heritage line, with lots of grime, a weathered look about a preserved railway. Okay, so and talking about weathering, I have before me it's basically my programming track, but I use this as a test bed. I used it, I say, well over a year ago to have my first crack at ballasting. But I've also just been more recently having a little bit of a play with weathering the ballast, looking at different tones, variations of colour to try and represent what tone it should look like if I'm going to follow as much as possible the Great Western Main Line or the Riviera line. But also, as you can see here, where I've got perhaps some sort of rust tones on the side of the rails, again that's something that I'll be looking to perhaps represent in the Heritage Line or on the disused siding at the main station, at Pennyhill Junction Station. This section here is simply rail match sleeper grime. This colour here, this grey colour, is just using Rail Match's roof dirt. This is a Revel rust colour. You can get close to there. So I think that rust colour, as I said, will look nice on the heritage line and perhaps on a disused siding. But I think for the main line, I think the Sleeper Grime is the right colour to use on the main line. As you can see, I've also been looking at some various tones to try and replicate that sort of reddish colour that you often see on the Riviera line down on the southwest in Devon and Cornwall. And here we've got a mix on this bit here where I think I've almost got it spot on. This section here has got a mix of both Sleeper Grime and the rust colour from these rails here. I've just mixed it, and I say it's got quite a nice tone there of the dirty, dusty colour, as well as some of the red and orangey type tones that you see down on the Riviera line. So I've enjoyed that. It's been nice to have a little crack at practicing some weathering. So this has all been done with a brush, no airbrushing at all. Yeah, I'm still yet to decide whether I'm going to apply this technique on the main layout, but it's been good to just have a play with various colours and you know, see what the outcome is. So now just taking a quick look at purchases over the last month. So this month I've been primarily saving for the Easter holiday with the family, so not much has gone on the layout at all. Hence the reason why I've been working on the platforms, because I've got stacks of this 18mm MDF. So it's similar to what I did on the platforms on the old layout. You know, I've got still several sheets remaining, so I thought I'll make use of this. You know, it's not going to cost me any more money. At least gives me a start on this sort of station area and getting the foundations of the platform. But anyway, going back to what I have purchased this month. So my previous video on the channel, as you may know, was the visit to the Basingstoke Model Rail Show, and I managed to pick this up from the Kernel Model Rail Centre stand at the show, and this is pretty much the first purchase for the heritage line. As you can see, it's a Great Western 20-ton towed brake van named Penzance, so I'd say it's perfect for the region that I'm representing down there in sort of South Devon and Cornwall. And the only other items I purchased from the show was just some of these Slater's plastic card sheets. I've got some random stone here which I may use to scratch build the brewery, which is next to Newton Abbot Station. Again, I'll come on to in a short while some of the feedback and suggestions about that corner section and perhaps where I might be heading with that. But in addition to that, I also picked up some of these paving sheets which will be used at some point as the platform edges. Okay, so I'm going to come over now to this corner section. So in my last update I was talking about this particular corner section where I've cut out this paper template, and I was going to cut out some plywood and start to work on my first scenic section of the layout on a removable piece of board, which I can obviously take away and work on during the summer when it gets hot up here. So I was asking you guys for some suggestions on what I can put there. You know, I did mention that I had thoughts about putting in some sort of, you know, health or racket club, etc. I did also look at perhaps having some sort of country cottage with the grounds, with a, you know, perhaps a tennis court on there and a large sort of playing area, perhaps a small swimming pool. But I'm still sort of drawn towards what's there in real life in Newton Abbot, and primarily this section here is the brewery. I think it's Teamworthy Brewery, which is there. and I say it's a really lovely building. Again, I'll pop some images up on the screen so you can see the building there. But I did have some fantastic suggestions. There was talk as well about perhaps having something like a Royal Mail depot, because there's one of those next to Newton Abbot Station. But the Royal Mail depot at Newton Abbot Station is actually adjacent to this platform 1 here, so the Royal Mail depot will actually be going in this section here. So there's already a position for a Royal Mail depot. Someone also did mention, similar to my other idea, some sort of farmhouse, etc. But I said lots of excellent suggestions, so I'm still not 100% committed to this corner and what I'm going to put there, but I'm still just edging towards what's there in real life, and going with that brewery and representation of that via a potential scratch build. Some other feedback that I received in following last month's update was some of the lumps and bumps on the track. I think one or two referred to it as a bit of a roller coaster. Of course, when you're up and looking from this angle, there doesn't appear to be any imperfections. But as I mentioned in, I think, my track laying video, this corner here, the transition from one module to the other, I say, wasn't perfectly flat, so I had to make some adjustments there and used some various pieces of cork just to try and level things out as it transitions from one board to the other. So not ideal, I know, but of course, I think 2.5 years ago when I started putting this together and constructing the baseboard, I was an absolute amateur, no DIY experience whatsoever, no skills in joinery whatsoever. So I was pretty pleased, to be honest, to have something which didn't fall apart, resembled a baseboard. And as I say, as you can see, I've been talking through this update now for quite some time. I had 3 trains running continuous without any issue. So yeah, it's not perfect, but then is the railway perfect? I think my biggest culprit in terms of derailments is my Hornby Class 800, and as I say, since I've put these all 3 lines in, the Class 800 has tested all 3 lines, also at high speed, and hasn't had one single derailment. So yeah, it's not perfect. There are some lumps and bumps, particularly when you go down to track level. You can see that it's slightly uneven, but as I say, as long as the trains are running fine, I'm not getting derailments, I can live with that. One final piece of feedback to discuss on this video is with regards to the points. So during my track laying videos, I did mention, of course, that these are the large radius curve points, code 75 from Pico. At the moment, there isn't a large radius curve point available with concrete sleepers. However, as many experienced modelers and railway enthusiasts have told me that it's quite common on the network to still have older points with wooden sleepers on a mainline section with primarily concrete sleepers. So as I said, if before I start to lay the ballast or install the point motors, if Pico do release a concrete sleeper version, then I'll replace them. If not, it won't be an issue. I'll just keep them as they are. I say once the ballast does get down and it does get weathered up a little bit, I'm sure it won't be as noticeable. However, another point in relation to the points, forgive the pun, is that, as you know, I've gone for prototypical sleeper spacing on this layout, and you can see the lengthy process that I went through to represent prototypical 00 scale sleeper spacing, and many have asked, what's my intentions with regards to sleeper spacing on the points. Well, my intention is to do, I say, absolutely nothing. I'm going to keep it as it is. I know that Tim Cooper from the Scrapline Model Railway, what Tim did do on his is he cut away some of the sleepers from the ends and just started to space it out so it had a better transition in and out of the points. I'm not looking to do that. It is fairly prototypical to have tighter sleepers on points, and again, this is not from my own knowledge. This is information that's been shared with me by very experienced modelers and those that know the railway extremely well, or certainly a lot better than I do. So I'm gonna stick with what I've got there. The only event in which I'll change is if in the coming months Pico do release a concrete sleeper version of the exact same large radius curve point in code 75. But if they don't, it will remain as is. Okay, so that's all for this month's update. I'm really pleased with the progress that's been made over the last 4 weeks, and I really do hope you enjoyed the video. So I'm going to leave you now with a very short running session which will be focused on this loco in front of you now, and that is the very first loco that I purchased for Pennyhill Junction just over 2 years ago, and that is the Hornby Class 66 running number 66185 in a DB Schenker livery, and that's the London Gateway model. So this model is I believe identical to the recent release of Hornby Class 66s in the old Lima tooling. So I thought in honour of Hornby's release of those Class 66s, I thought I'd provide you with a short running session of my very own, and of course, with some sentimental value, being that it was the first loco to arrive at Pennyhill Junction way back in January 2017. I will be back, I hope, in a couple of weeks where I plan to release our Easter running session. But until then, thank you for watching, and bye for now.